Ready for 90-degree weather today.
And Denise was supposed to.
Did not see anything.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's work session. This is a special meeting. We are going to celebrate our retirees and as our reception for our retirees. Tonight, Vice President Strauss is ill this evening, and we are still expecting Directors DeBruler and Daniels. So I will ask Dr. Watts to begin our program this evening.
Thank you, President Vengadaslam, members of the board, and our esteemed guests, graduates, retirees this evening. And I would also like to give Mr. Rick Robles an opportunity to share with our special musical guest today who provided a wonderful ensemble. Mr. Robles, if you'd like to give a little introduction.
Sure. Madam Board President, board members, Dr. Watts, guests, and especially the retirees. We have here this afternoon to perform for your enjoyment is the mariachis from Kent Meridian High School. It's the first mariachi group, I believe, in our district, and I want to acknowledge the members. The first on the starting from the right, going left, would be Ramiro Robles, plays guitar and also sings. Next is my wife, Carla Esparza, who's a dual language teacher at Scenic Hill. I have a hard time with his name. Jaid, who plays a vihuela, and next to him is his brother, Jose, who plays a guitarón. And then we have Giovanni, who is one of our lead singers, and Abraham, who is our trumpet player, and lastly, Adam, who plays the violin and helps coordinate. Also in the audience is a person I'd like to thank. These boys only started in January, and with the help of Salvador Morales, Salvador, if you could please stand, who is also a mariachi and handles the church. And also oversees the church choir. So all these boys I've played together in the choir at church, and it was really easy for them to get together and play music, and that's why they are, or where they are currently. And again, retirees, I want to congratulate you. I hope you enjoy the music. Dr. Watts?
Thank you. Again, Mr. Robles, thank you. And to our esteemed guests, tonight is your night, and for this portion of our meeting, we honor you. We understand that for our students, this is graduation season, and is a culmination of years of hard work and dedication, and ultimately, this is the next step to something different. And we'll hear, I'm sure, more about that this evening. I'm going to turn it program over to our Chief Human Resources Officer, Mariah Martin, to begin our recognition of our retirees. Mariah?
Absolutely. Welcome, everyone. It's really exciting to be here with you. I know this is probably a bittersweet moment. As I looked over the retirees that are going to be joining us tonight, there's an incredible number of years of service here represented in this room. And so I want to say thank you to all of you for the many, many years of service you provided to our families, our communities. I started off in the teaching profession. Some of you are teachers, some of you are in other professions. And know that that is incredibly hard work, day in and day out. I just want to say thank you, appreciate the work that you've provided and the service that you've provided to our Kent School District. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the process first, because we always like to know what's expected, right? What's going to happen next. So I'm going to take an opportunity for the individuals that have RSVP to read just a little portion about some of your service. It cannot in any way capture all of the wonderful things you've done, but we've tried to capture a couple of really salient points. So when I see your name up front, if you would come and stand beside me, and I'll have the opportunity to read some really wonderful things about you and give you a gift. And the gifts that we'd like to give our retirees this year is a pen and pencil set that says, thank you for your service to Team KSD. And we hope every time you use that, you'll remember fondly your time with us. And it's just a small token of our appreciation for all the work that you've done. Thank you. So after we've shared your name and shared a little bit of information about yourself, you can have a seat for a few moments, and then at the end, we'll have everyone process through and have the board be able to shake your hand, and we'll do that all at one time. And then I believe at the end, we'll have pictures. And Melissa, I will leave it in her capable hands to take care of that. And then afterwards, we get to eat, which is always fun, right? So we'll have that opportunity. So let's start with our first recipient, Nancy Cannon, Kent Meridian IP paraeducator. So after 30 years in education and 20 years with the Kent School District, is that right? Maybe 20 years. 20 years with the Kent School District? Total. 30 sounds great, so if you'd like to take that, you're welcome. 20 sounds great, too. Your first 10 years with KSD were spent at the top, right? The outreach program?
No, is it?
Oh, you know what? I am on the wrong person.
Here we go.
You know, that's what I get for not looking at my notes while I'm talking. So, Nancy, I apologize. You are on the back side of this page. Nancy's been with the Kent School District for 20 years, as she has shared. And she's retiring from Kent Meridian High School, where she served as an IP paraeducator. Before that, Nancy was a Title Lap paraeducator at Sequoia Middle School, back when it was called Sequoia Middle School, until it closed and became Kent Phoenix Academy, which we all know and love now. Nancy always had a passion working with children of all ages, building trusting relationships with them and sharing her excitement of learning. She looks forward to spending time with her husband, Scott. I think he's here, right? Yeah. Her 3 grandkids and 3 children. Nancy, thank you so much for your service, and I appreciate you letting me get through the kinks on that first one. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Yep, we're good? You're doing it? Okay. We are just trying to psych you guys out, right? Yeah. Gayla Chrysler. Yes, Millennium Paraeducator, and I am reading the correct one, so we're in good shape. So you do have 30 years in education, absolutely, with 20 years in the Kent School District. Your first 10 years were with Kent School District were spent at the outreach program?
Well, not the first 10 years.
Okay.
It was 8 years at, the farthest elementary school out.
Sawyer Woods, yes. Thank you. Okay, and then you were also at the outreach program?
Yes.
Okay. And what were you going to say? I'm sorry.
Yeah, then 10 years at the outreach program.
Wonderful. And so these last years, you've been with Millennium Elementary School. Gayla has always loved sharing the things she's learned with others, and she really enjoyed working with children, which ultimately led her to have a rich career in education. And this is the part I always enjoy. She plans to travel and spend time with her 2 grandsons. Anywhere specific you'd like to travel?
Well, yes, I'm going to go to, I love history, so I'm going to Gatlinburg and
Anywhere.
Arizona.
Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful. Well, congratulations. Thank you so much. All right, Virginia, we're ready for you now. And is it Virginia? ID. Kent Meridian Spanish teacher. Yes. Wonderful. It was wonderful to see you group today, wasn't it? Yeah. So Virginia began her career in education 38 years ago, and she spent the last 33 years with the Kent School District. Thank you so much. Previously, she worked in Wilson Creek, Washington, and Chelan, Washington, where she served as a teacher and a program director of the Title I program. Ever since she transitioned to KSD, Kent Meridian has been blessed with her presence as a Spanish teacher and curricular leader. Virginia's favorite memory is when one of her students who struggled in first-year Spanish worked at Chuck E. Cheese. He came to class one day so excited because he was able to tell some customers in Spanish that it was closing time, and they understood him, thankfully. Working with the diverse population of KM has been an enriching experience for Virginia. And she plans to do a lot of traveling as well, beginning with hiking in Iceland this summer. Wow. She will have a new grandchild that will be due in October and will be spending time in North Carolina with her son and his wife. And she also plans to visit D.C. more to visit her daughter. So thank you so much. You've definitely earned this time. All right, Annette George. Here. We have a strong Kent Meridian contingency here. I can see that. Annette George is a special education inclusion teacher at Kent Meridian. And Annette's career in special education began 31 years ago in Texas. For the last 13 years, she's been with the Kent School District. In the mid-1960s, her sister had trouble reading, so Annette spent a summer helping her read. At the time, dyslexia was not labeled, and that was the catalyst for her desire to help others learn. Wow. Working in special education gave Annette a unique perspective of the overall whole student and development of social, physical, and mental and cognitive abilities. She cherishes this time of the year when students are waiting to hear their name called to receive their high school diplomas. Yes. And now we get to call your name too. That's great. Immediately upon her retirement, Annette is leaving Washington and returning to Texas to be with her 3 children and 5 grandchildren.
Now there's 6.
Now there's 6.
Coming in February.
Oh, exciting, exciting. She says the Kent Meridian family has been wonderful to work with and reinforces the need to be with family at this time of her life. And I know that they've enjoyed working with you as well. Thank you very much. All right, Mogi Hagan. Don't see Mogi here. All right, Glenn Harmoning. Glenn, did I say your last name correctly? Okay, wonderful. So Glenn has spent 37 years in education and 31 years with the Kent School District. Thank you. During his time with KSD, he taught English at Matson for the entire time?
The entire time.
Wow. I was an English language arts teacher too. That's a lot of papers you were grading. Glenn discovered a talent for teaching after being a martial arts teacher when he was a junior in high school. Unique opportunities and circumstances kept confirming that education was the place he was supposed to invest his time and his talent. Glenn has too many memories to count from, but he believes the ability to remember that middle schoolers are, in fact, funny, despite their challenges, has got him through the day various times. They are a great group, aren't they? Working with his colleagues has been a privilege for him, and he says he's a better person for it. Glenn and his wife will be taking their travel trailer into new places during the summer, and he looks forward to spending more quality time with his dog, Max. Where's the first place you're going to take your travel trailer?
We've got a trip through Central Oregon down to Reno and back.
Oh, nice.
And then I
Enjoy.
was going to say, I forgot to put in there, we've got my son and daughter-in-law and 2 grandbabies in Prague. So we're going to probably head in that direction over the water at some point.
Not taking the travel trailer. Yes. Wonderful. Thank you. Congratulations. Catherine, is it Hayworth? Okay. And Catherine is a Kent Valley Early Learning Center head custodian. What a wonderful school. Let's see. Catherine has worked with the Kent School District for 41 years. Wow. She started with KSD early in life, must have been, at the age of 17 in the work training program at Kent Ridge. Wonderful. When Neely O'Brien opened, she served as the head custodian for 29 years and then transferred to help open Kent Valley Learning Center.
Yeah, I need to move away from 800 kids.
Yes, yeah, but the same students because of the way that Neely O'Brien and Kent are both represented there. She has been there since she retired in October of 2018. Thank you for coming here today so we can honor you. She says the work of a custodian goes beyond cleaning. Catherine enjoyed a variety of adventures as a custodian, from coming into a building in the morning and finding a golf cart on the grounds, to catching a ferret that was chasing staff and students up portable ramps. Wow. For the past 8 months of being retired, Catherine has enjoyed watching her great-grandson during the week and also been enjoying her time at the YMCA. Thank you so much for your service. Diane Kellerman, Kent Meridian substitute teacher. Did I pronounce the last name correctly? I'm sorry? Admin? Okay, I think we've got that written. Let me make sure I've gotten everything. If I don't, make sure I add it. This is your time to shine.
I'm not a substitute teacher.
Okay, so we will absolutely change that. But you are retiring after giving over 13 years of service to the Kent School District. Thank you, Diane. And Diane started at Martin Sartoon and was there for about 7 years working in the main office and food services. And Catherine left the district for 12 years and came back. Right? Thank you. When she returned, she was a health tech for Emerald Park and Horizon. And she's been with the Kent Meridian High School as an admin staff for the past 5 years. Catherine was going to retire earlier. I'm sorry?
Diane.
I apologize. Diane was going to retire earlier until she became you were not a long-term substitute. Or you were?
Well, I started out as a substitute in the office.
Okay, I think that's where, so you've provided substitute service, but you are a continuing employee as an administrative worker. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us about what you've enjoyed about this time? Because I want to make sure that I've captured the great moments that you remember.
I worked as a substitute for a while, so I got to work at different schools,
Great.
and that was really interesting. But I got hung up at KM, and then the position opened up.
I think they love her there. I think that's okay. So when a position opened up, you...
Yeah, I didn't want to leave, so I stayed.
All right. And my understanding is you and your husband bought a fifth-wheel trailer and that you plan to do some traveling through the U.S. and other countries. Any country in particular you'd like to visit?
Scotland.
Okay, wonderful.
I'd like to go back to England. Different. I haven't really decided on that yet.
Great. You've got plenty of time and lots of opportunity. And one of Diane's daughters lives in New York City with her 2 little boys, and her other daughter lives in Redmond with 2 little girls to keep her busy. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Diane. Appreciate it. And being a great sport as we're working through the details. I appreciate that. Mary Jo Lambert. And Mary Jo is a teacher at Grass Lake. Yes. And Mary Jo has served Kent School District for 20 years, and she has spent 35 years total in education. She currently works at Grass Lake Elementary School and teaches a 4th and 5th grade combo ACE class. Previously, Mary Jo worked as an engineer, and she wanted more action and movement. She came to the right spot, didn't she? Yes, which led her into transition into teaching. She enjoyed her time teaching, fulfilling her passion of teaching kids about science and inspiring them to think about the things around them. Mary Jo will remember this year in particular. She says her class was very creative. Wonderful. Upon her retirement, Mary Jo will start her own, you're going to have to help me with this, petroglyph?
Yeah, I'm doing etching on rocks.
Oh, wow.
It's
Wonderful.
going to be a great business. Let me know if you need your rocks etched.
Way to seize the moment. That's great. And she hopes to be a Rhodes Scholar and/or adjunct professor.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm going to be on that bus with those senior
Well,
citizens.
there you go.
Pointing out the rocks.
I think that's fun times. Good. Thank you so much, Mary Jo. I appreciate it. All right, Fred Long. And Fred is Director of Facilities, and he has been with the Kent School District, I'm going to make sure I get the whole thing, 34.5 years, and has been with the facilities team since you started, up here at the Central Admin Center. Wow. When Emerald Park Elementary opened, he went into a kindergarten room where the teacher was sitting on the floor with her students and enjoyed the satisfaction of providing her with a great, warm place to teach. Fred has built 17 new schools in the district and has had at least one project in every school. Upon retirement, he plans to travel and enjoy his 5-acre farm. Wow, wonderful. Thank you so much, Fred. Dave Lutz. Okay, I think Dave's here with us. Okay. Kim McClung, another Kent Meridian teacher. My goodness, we're going to lose a lot of wonderful talent at Kent Meridian. Kim has been educating students of all ages for the last 29 years, with 27 of them being at the Kent School District. Thank you. She began as a Russian interpreter and ESL paraeducator at Martin Sertoon in 1992 after successfully running an adult ESL program for Russians and Ukrainians. Kim also taught English and Spanish at Kent Junior High, and when the school closed, she went to work at Kent Meridian. She's been coordinating the International Baccalaureate program and teaching psychology and philosophy ever since. Wow. Her father-in-law, who was a public school administrator, inspired her to go back to school and get her teaching certificate. There is no single memory that means more to Kim than the appreciation she has received and the relationships she has built with her students, many of whom became her friends after graduation. The best moments in Kim's career were working for and with administrators who trusted her to do a good job, not second-guessing her decisions and encouraging her to showcase her creativity and expertise. She is looking forward to going back to school to take classes she never had time for in high school and college. Wonderful. Riding her bike, dancing with her husband, and spending lots of time spoiling her grandson. So enjoy every minute of that. Absolutely. Okay. Michael Witten. Michael is a KPA coordinator, and he's been in education for 34 years, and 30 of those years have been with the Kent School District. He currently resides at Kent Phoenix Academy, where he serves as the Kent Virtual High School Coordinator. And previously, he was a teacher at Glen Ridge for 11 years and Springbrook for 5. Spring Glen. Wow.
Spring Glen.
That was a school. Yeah. How many years ago was that? Spring Glen.
Late 80s.
Okay. I learned something today. Thank you. Michael has enjoyed working with students and creating and building the Kent Virtual High School. He plans to travel, hike, and spend time with his grandkids. Enjoy that. Thank you so much. Lucinda Witta. Lucinda is a teacher at Kentwood, and she's been with the Kent School District for 31 years. She's always been passionate about the written word and theater, which led to her career in education. Lucinda began her career at Cedar Heights Junior High and Sequoia Junior High as an English and drama teacher, and she's now a 9th grade English teacher at Kentwood. And one of her fondest memories is when the school did the play To Kill a Mockingbird, which is one of our favorites. She double cast the role of Atticus. And both actors had trouble memorizing the 4-page closing argument Atticus gives. Imagine. Lucinda told the actors that she would cut the closing argument over spring break, which was an impossible task, and bring them back to try it again. Instead, her students spent their entire spring break working to memorize the whole argument, which they succeeded. I bet they still know it. I wonder. She is grateful to have had the opportunity to take students to many professional plays. And Lucinda will retire to her cabin on the South Sound. She's looking forward to traveling in her new travel trailer. I'm sensing a theme, travel, and spending more time with her 5 grandchildren. Congratulations. Thank you so much. We also want to recognize the many other retirees that could not be here with us tonight, so we've added their names here. No, come on up. It's never too late. We've had a couple of little interesting moments, so I think we should just continue and. Absolutely. Do you mind speaking over
You don't
here?
have anything? Okay.
No, come on over. So tell us your name and your position.
Oh, okay. I'm Kathleen Holler, and I've been teaching kindergarten. I started teaching special education in the Highline School District, and then was off for a while with my children. And then I've been with the Kent School District for about 25 years. The last 19 in kindergarten and the last 18 at Carriage Crest. And that's about it.
19 years, last 19 years in kindergarten.
Yeah.
That's incredibly. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, please come on up. Do we have some more retirees?
And I'm her husband. I'm retiring with her. I had a brief 6-month stint back in 1978 as a elementary phys ed teacher for a teacher having a baby, but it didn't keep going. I ended up going to Boeing.
Do you know it's incredibly helpful to have a spouse who's been in education? My husband was a long-term sub for 6 months of his life, and he said, how in the world did you find time to grade papers and to do all the other things? I think everybody should have that experience. So good for you for trying that and doing that. And thank you for your service to the Kent School District, for however short it was. So what we'd like to do is have our board members come up to the front, and we'd like to have all of our retirees come along this side. And if you'll line up, our retirees will come this way. And what we'll do is we'll just proceed through so the board can have the opportunity to shake your hand and personally thank you for your time working in the district. Fred, you can just start the line.
It doesn't matter. We're going to get that. I'm retired.
That's right. I'm not changing that. So thank you very much for joining us tonight and allowing us to express our thanks and our gratitude for many, many contributions that you've given us. And working through this process with us, as we always gather that information, we want to make sure that we accurately represent who you are and what you've done. So thank you for your help with that. So what we'd like to do now is provide you the opportunity to greet and talk with one another out in the foyer with some refreshments. And thank you so much. Enjoy being with you tonight.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all. We're going to recess for refreshments, and an executive session will start at 6:30 for approximately 30 minutes to discuss the qualifications of an applicant for public employment and review the performance of a public employee. Thank you. Thank you.
What's that? Say it again. Just talk fast and slow, right? It's really-
For clicking.
I don't know. And I had not seen this presentation in advance. No, but I know, this actually, like, that's where I had the last one. I said, do you know who she was? And she does. So I don't, that wasn't here the first time. Called her on the office line, and she's like, no. It's still there. Yeah, that's right. Oh, it's still there. Yeah, you're gonna have to. I think it just is very comfortable there and it doesn't want to move.
Well, yeah, the way we roll, school operation.
Good. Looks good.
So, yeah.
So, what went well? What didn't go so well? What are we going to work on for next time? It's a growth mindset. Is it that painful? Was it that painful?
No.
You have to. I mean, what are you going to do? You can't fall apart. Yeah, because look.
I know they do.
No, I have to show you this, because this is where I was not. Diane, Catherine. It's writing my talking points. And when you're out there, you're not thinking, right? Because you're just trying to get through it. Okay. Did we have your title right, Fred? We have 2 director of facilities, apparently. We're overstaffed in that area, apparently. Oh, my.
It's all right, I just get in line, turn my book on.
but nobody does. It's just, look at that 4-digit composite number. I think that when you start recognizing Daniel Ridgewood, start to recognize these principles.
I call us Daniel Woodnell. Because I had
One of
never
the
heard,
wood schools.
I had never heard
Yeah,
of the wood
one of the wood schools.
thing until I got to Sioux Creek. People talk about that. I'm like, what? So yeah, I told when I announced to the staff, I said, good job, Daniel Wood.
That is fantastic. Yeah, you guys have the Y. I mean, the Y is almost next door.
Yeah, it is. We dismissed from the church right next to that. So
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
the workers actually part of that. So we had a little more traffic than some of the bizarre things.
So you and Jim have plans when retirement does? Is he retired? Yeah.
Was seriously thinking about calling it this year. I can't retire, but have a new AP, and if I leave, I have my other coach is a interim, so she'd be a place.
Right.
I might be that's what made me a new coach.
So did you drive them to Olympia?
Yeah.
Ed and Cynthia?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, who? He goes, well, Ed goes, Daniel, her name is Patty something. Patty, and I went, Rodney? Yeah, she's still the principal there? Oh, my Lord. Ed, you're going to have the best time. I said,
He's a nice guy.
He's phenomenal. How is love? Hey, Jenny.
I'm Jenny Riley.
Patty Rodney.
Oh.
She's the principal at the.
Oh, I think did you sat in? Did you come visit one time? Or was that a different principal?
Probably.
Oh.
I wanted to.
Did you ever check back in at Sioux Creek? Because they're on principal 2 since you left, 3, 2.
2.
Yeah.
But 1 didn't count.
Your replacement didn't count.
He only stayed a year. And, yeah, but so they have to, I was happy to do that there because the transition took some time.
All right, right, sure.
So I ended up there for that, but now, it was disruptive when it first got, because the kids were getting in, so I
Right.
was at the class and I walked away and I was there 9 years ago.
Right.
Now it's not so disruptive, the staff, the kids. Last year's graduating class of kindergarten was my first kindergarten class again.
I think that next year's third graders, next year's third graders will be the last group that I'm still teaching high school seniors. Currently in utero, will be the last student I have before I retire. Well, I won't have 20 years in, so I won't be retired. I'll be, I guess that's what you call it, quitting.
Resigning.
Yeah, resigning. So when I resign.
What is the age for the retirement? I don't even know.
Well, if you work from a state standpoint, 20, and it doesn't matter. I'm not teaching till 68. That's not good.
What do you teach? 20 years.
20, it's sort of the benchmark for them, 20, 30, so you got to calculate years like infinitely. At the bottom, it's almost 30. So the pension piece, it makes significant chunks, depending on how many years you do, but. I have go to next time. You don't have to be next time. You can offer to stay with the district. Retirement. Go.
Absolutely. I wish I'd gone years ago.
Yeah.
We learned a lot.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it. I'm on year 19.
Yeah, don't wait.
Not that I would
Don't wait
I
till
don't
you
want to
go.
retire.
Yeah, Jenny, don't wait till you retire. Go. They'll usually say, hey, if you're within 10 years, and go.
Because even some of the accounts like what we put money in now, I wish we would go that years ago. Because there's, so you put money in and you have all the pay tax.
The Roth.
Pull it out, but not.
The Roth is okay. The Roth are,
And there's a limit on how much you put in every year, so.
then once you're 50, you can catch up. Yeah, I tell everybody, please. When I say 10, Mrs. Jensen retires.
Can you bring somebody to come along with you to those things, or is
Yeah,
that
they'll-
only
yeah.
district?
They're free.
Yeah, they're great. They
Yeah,
should show up.
yeah.
We actually, Jim and I have done this, and I don't think they will do, sometimes the state will do some, and they
Well, one of them used to be on the soccer book to the state. I wouldn't have drawn it like on her name. She used to do because I ran into her coming in to do the training. Wayne, why did I drop off that bill coming to me later? But, yeah, it was like, because we're both on the state board together. And I was like, oh my God, you do? She goes, oh yeah, I do live in town. What? How did I not know this? But I would tell
It
you.
really is, it's worth checking out. I tell my kids, they're only
I
in
didn't
their
even know there was
thirties.
a pension that's like,
Gonna get more water, but
that's
still out
pretty,
there.
that sounds good.
Yeah,
So,
it's, because you can go in and do the calculating for it, but it's again, one of those.
it's just
things.
an automatic thing, or do you have to sign up for it?
No, it's, you're in it, you've already signed, so you're in some, are they taking money out of your check?
Yeah,
So
right.
you're in
It's like
something,
a-
into,
Something,
so,
yeah.
yeah, next time that you get an email from the union or the district, don't think, yeah, go. And you sit there because they're gonna, and you're gonna be like, oh, wow, geez, I have X time, me, I'm going, maybe 20, somewhere between 15 to 18.
How long were you?
This is my 19th.
Okay, and what were you doing before that?
I was the National Investigations Director for the North.
For what company?
Nordstrom.
Oh, investigation what?
Director. So that means that nationwide, I had 8 regional managers who saw company losses
Oh.
globally, great market, all that, all the long and short of it. I was on a nice office in Seattle.
Uh-huh.
It's on Space Needle. It was
Oh, yeah.
nice. Yeah, did that for quite a long time.
What was the
and
name
then-
of it? His last name is Delahart.
My wife may still know because she's, I've been about 9 years.
Yeah, he's, I
But-
don't know. Eric Delahart.
But she's still.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah,
I
no,
worked in downtown Seattle too. I had a beautiful office. It was like,
One
that was
day-
my only perk. That was
No,
like a
but I
perk.
traveled extensively. When I say extensively, 3 or 4 weeks.
Oh, wow.
I was on the road. It was
Oh.
always not
Is
24/7.
that good or is that hard on your
It
family?
was very hard.
Yeah.
Because my wife also travels, so it was difficult. And it just reached a point where
Yeah,
it's burning me out.
yeah.
Oh. Be a teacher, I'll be a teacher. So, yeah, got lucky. Spent a year and a half subbing. Graduated, had one of those.
Your
Richmond-
master's in teaching?
I had a bachelor's. The switch over was it's funny, I was a business major. And when I got out of service, went back and was in my junior year and went, I'm like, my life's changed. 6 years later, I don't think the same as I think. Yeah, so I switched. I did it permanent school, I went to school down south. Got a teaching degree. Just never used it.
Oh,
And ended up all things of business.
so you had a teaching degree already?
Yes.
And so it was just sort of kind of
Says
situated.
it.
So how did you get it reinstated? Was it hard?
No, and when I contacted the state was like, they're like, oh no, there's a form, whatever, and I went, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Because the license had expired in 96, something like that.
but I think so my.
Things have changed.
My sister-in-law, she hasn't ever, she got her teaching degree, but then she just did teacher assistant jobs. So she's like, I don't want this responsibility. I just want to be, but she's awesome. She's like amazing too. And so now she went to a teaching job, and she said what she had to do is because the clock never started on her. So that degree, her certificate just sat there. And so she had to do something, but she didn't have to like do all the clock hours.
Well, there was because all I had to do was fill out a piece of paper. But there was this long and short of it between the Human Resource Department for the Keene School District, myself and the state, my license ended up expiring. Second time so forth. And occurred. When I went, oh, okay, let me fix this. Well, we did, it triggered me to this pro teach school. And I'm going, what is that? And people said, oh, what's the pro teacher? They go, oh, and I said, no. That's not when my license was issued. My license was issued in 1991.
That's good, because pro teach was a pain.
And so I went to one of the, like for 2 months, went to class, whatever it was. This was put on. In the classroom. Not the laptop, in the lab. Contacted state legislator, Steve Barquist and Joe Fane, worked the legislation through Olympia, got a social media campaign to help advocate and push that. Got our signed it into law, killed ProTeach. They did a very nice piece in the paper. It was nice to be quoted.
Oh, nice.
Thank you for the
I think that was
efforts.
my first year that I came to read because you were talking a lot
Yeah,
about
it's
it.
that effort.
And I never had to worry about the teach.
Yeah, well, it's like saying it was such an awful thing. And I just couldn't believe it. And getting people, again, senator and the representative, you know, oh my God, you're right, this is awful. And getting the more conservative aspect of the legislature to back it. Went down to it. So at 11:15 on the last night of the legislation signing bills, Steve Berquist was great, called me to the house. Hey, I just want to tell you, I was going to sign it here. Amen. I just want to,
That's amazing.
that was great. But I would have never,
Empowering.
had it not been for the mistake. And I had no idea, these people talk about it all the time, like suckers, and then when they make a mistake in request, I get it. And I all of a sudden, can do it. Like, this is insane. Why would I put up with
Read
this?
the Hi. Hello. How was dinner? It was great. Yeah, that was like my favorite restaurant. I was like,
Patty
oh.
didn't ask us
That was
for
like,
stuff, so if you want to grab Patty's
Oh,
car and go move her
right, there you
car,
go. Yeah.
I'll say, drop it. She didn't say, could you watch my stuff?
I was like, I recognize
So
that.
take it, move her car.
Was it just you guys at dinner? What did I
It's
do?
great. He told us the best story about
Yes.
the lunch trip. Well, he should tell you.
Yeah. It was
Where
great.
would you like to sit today?
Yeah, sitting on the front.
Wow. I don't know if I've ever not sat in front.
Oh, well,
It doesn't, my all.
that doesn't surprise me.
I hope for everybody.
No, it's a bad trip.
Cynthia, I think my old staff would get in a bit like a heel.
Oh, not at all. Not at all.
Good, how are you? Can we pair together like I'll be your teacher and you'll be my.
Absolutely.
Hey, get a window installed. Pop the lights on. Put it
I was during that one, they were going to be totally dead. Yeah, you couldn't catch who it was. There's just two little slides. Whoever teacher would have our
My room is so hot.
Yeah.
Yes, as I said.
What is stupid? I mean, like, you're stupid. You can't even read. Right? It's so hot. Like, literally, too. Like, every student figures. You know, we do a rotation of reading, and you're like, okay, stop doing a big chair, and just get to drink the water, and everywhere. It's sticky. It's gonna get hot. It's just dark.
Like a cell phone.
Oh, this is really, this is really close though.
I'm so glad you said that. I eventually will itchy my ear.
You gotta do a selfie.
Yeah, you did the selfie version.
This is so funny.
Oh, I see it.
You know.
Okay, you all ready? About 3 seconds. Is that you?
How are you?
There we go.
If it's like a hot day like today, I'll wear short sleeves and I'll put that on. Sure. But then
What are you up to? What is Richard?
Well, no, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't come into
The board?
So,
We're gonna rock start this
so
hotel.
on Wednesdays every month, so.
The broken furniture, unpaid room service bill.
You're obviously.
Don't do that very often. But every once in a while, because I usually like to be in here by 6 o'clock, before 6 o'clock. Oh, I'm yeah, yeah.
Rich, would you guys know that I?
The only other person that beats me in is,
It was my idea. I'm sorry, you're asking so
thank you. Yeah, she gets here at 5:30, no later. She's always early for the shift. It's her. She's got a lot of craft too. Yeah, that's what she told me. It's kind of hard to judge your time when you're kind of farther away. There's more things that can happen on the way.
And you guys are here for an award?
Yes.
Process for audience presentation.
I'll sit
So that's so they do. Like they institutionalize that like your child, like they're teaching or something. It's like she puts some leadership in. So yeah, I was there and I was just like I felt like I was in the day again. Everyone's like, you know, like the participation and everyone's like saying and all the stuff. It's just they're running through the process and just
I make no mistake.
Serious? Oh, and so take them.
All right, Dave. Good. How are you?
Great.
So you're stealing Kim Wilbur from us?
And that word got out. Yeah, what a great gal.
Today was her last day over at HR.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Oh,
She's taking 2 days off.
oh, yeah, good for her.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
But,
no, she's fantastic. She's gonna be a great fit.
And we're gonna try not to love her too much during the transition period.
No, you do whatever you need to do.
She's been keeping us afloat with risk management.
Yeah.
So I told her I was like, I'm gonna try not to lean on you too much. But I feel we may maybe
That well, so we'll have right is.
I mean, we're not going to take her too much. I want to have her make a she's transition. Well, and honestly, I mean, we can figure something out.
Not necessary, Tim, but whatever she needs. We did the same thing with Linnell when she came over. She helped PD out for months.
Okay, appreciate it. You know, like, it's so great. Yeah. We can Oh.
Sorry.
I understand. It's something she's been wanting to get into for a while.
Okay.
That's what I figured. I mean, I get like apparently.
It's a lot.
No,
That'd
no,
be a
I'm
good day. And some do. So Maya, I think Maya's going to follow them. She does. And then we also have so tomorrow we have this Friday, and then next week. So I've got one next week too.
Got it.
I can't. And I've got my nieces and nephews graduating. too, so.
I mean, I had my like running start, like graduation on Tuesday, and
Right,
then
so there's that. And then
yeah, and then there's that,
all
and
of
then
them, too.
tomorrow I have like the season sunset.
Yep, absolutely.
And Friday I have Green River.
Absolutely.
So then I'm like, oh my gosh, crazy.
Yep, but it's a great time for you.
It is. After my last final, I like probably beat up my 11 a.m. Then I'm gonna be like, finally party time. So
that's great.
I know.
Very exciting.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's board meeting. And I have asked Ms. Karen Howley to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Well, good evening again. And I want to mention that Director Strauss is absent today. She's ill tonight, so she's excused. And I also want to first thank our KM Mariachi Band that was playing for us during our wonderful retirement celebration just about an hour ago. So thank you to KM Mariachi Band as well. All right, well, this is a meeting of the Kent School District Board, which is held in public to comply with the Open Public Meetings Act. So I'm going to be reading a couple of things that are procedural. The purpose of board meetings is for the board to conduct its business in public. During the meeting, the board will listen to but not respond to comments from visitors. Those wishing to comment must complete a comment card and give it to the board secretary before the meeting begins, or no later than agenda item 4.0 presentations. And no cards will be accepted once presentations have begun. There are abusive public comments personally directed towards staff members will not be tolerated, and the president may interrupt or terminate an individual statement when it's too lengthy, obscene, or irrelevant. When it is your turn to address the board, please state your name at the start of your testimony. You'll come to my right, the podium to my right, and please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. You will hear a timer when 3 minutes are up. Visitors who have completed a comment card indicating a desire to speak to an agenda item will be called at that portion of the agenda. And per board procedure, written material to provide board members with background information should be submitted to the superintendent's office at least 1 week in advance of the meeting. So at this time, I'd like to ask Dr. Watts if there are any changes to the agenda, please.
Yes, thank you, President Venkatasalam. Members of the board, Ms. Holly, community and friends, please know that personnel report was updated this evening, and a supplemental personnel report has been added to the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, I'd like to ask for a motion to accept the changes to the agenda, please.
I move that we accept the changes to the agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussions or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye and raise your right hand. Aye. All those opposed say no and raise your right hand. Okay, motion passes. Next, we are moving to our superintendent's report. Dr. Watts, please.
Thank you, President Venkatasalam. And members of the board, Ms. Holly, I would like to first begin by honoring the fact that this time of year is a celebratory time. It is a time for our students, many of whom will be walking across several stages in the next few days, meeting the requirements for graduation, and we trust that we will be achieving our mission of successfully preparing all students for their futures. And so I'd like to begin with goal 1 of our strategic planning process. And I think about the fact that we have honored and paid tribute to so many wonderful leaders in our school district, leaders in our classrooms, leaders in our school administrator staff, leaders in our central administrator, leaders here on the dais. Teaching and learning is our core business. I'd like to honor Kent Valley Early Learning Center and Daniel Elementary. They just completed 3 ready for kindergarten sessions for next year's kindergarten class. A reminder, class of 2032. These kindergarten students learning how to learn and be ready for kindergarten for Title I elementary schools. The teachers, office assistants, principals, and para-educators at both schools were incredible partners with our teaching and learning community, and they are truly leading this work to support our community of learners, young and experienced. Several of us talk throughout the day. In fact, we talk a great deal in order to teach and to learn. TALK is also an acronym for a signature learning event in 2019. And Teaching and Learning, in partnership with KEA, have confirmed several national and internationally recognized leaders in public education, particularly in our areas of focus of teaching and learning, as well as coaching and leading for racial equity. I would like to share just a few tidbits of TALK 2019 and Teaching and Learning, Kent School District. Keynotes and breakout sessions, which will take place at Green River College. One internationally and nationally known professor, Dr. Jeff Duncan Adrande, is a PhD professor, associate professor out of San Francisco State, widely known for his work in racial equity. We also have Terry Chadsey, known in the areas of teaching and learning and leadership in the state of Washington. He was a member of the first cohort of the Danforth Principal Preparation Program, and he focuses his leadership and teaching and learning expertise on the courage and renewal of behaviors and focusing on the mental and behavioral supports for our students. So you see our focus continues to be teaching and learning, not only for academic aspects, but for our students, knowing that social and emotional health is critical to our students as well as our staff success. I'd like to also thank Denali Credit Union. We do have supports in many of our areas in this region. They actually helped to host a financial reality for Kent Meridian students earlier this month. And to our Charger Robotics team, we're looking to increase opportunities for students sometimes to have their very first teaming experience. These members created an opportunity, and I appreciate President Megan Daslam and I, who had an opportunity to listen to one of our stars, as a matter of fact, to focus on robotics as a team building opportunity, as well as one of our opportunities for students to grow and to become gainfully employed in this region that is now a STEM region internationally. Graduation is upon us. We do know and appreciate the fact that Treehouse, one of our amazing community partners who supports and proudly serves youth who are in foster care in Washington State. I do want to pay a personal point of privilege to my dad. While his body is no longer with us, he was also a foster parent in this state. He would be celebrating his 75th birthday on the 14th of this month, and so I want to pay tribute to the fact that Treehouse is working very closely with our leaders in Kent School District and their graduation success program, thanking our members of our school operations and academic support and student family support services for their continued success. 92% of our students who are involved in Treehouse graduation are meeting attendance targets, and we know this to be true. You can't learn as well or as quickly or as wholly if you're not present. 85% of our KSD foster care youth are on target for meeting behavior targets, which is no suspensions or expulsions. 77% of our KSD foster care students are meeting that standard. So we are seeing success in all areas of our student body. In organizational effectiveness, in this room on May 28th, and since the last time we were here, our state auditor exit conference took place in this room, and At its conclusion, our team of professionals, I would like to pay special tribute to our budget and finance team led by Ben Rarick, and also Lisa Tyler and Sarah Dumla, among many, and led by Dr. Jewel Harmon, our Chief Accountability Officer. We are pleased by the incredibly hard and smart work that takes place, and we were identified by the team with no findings from their review of our 2017-2018 financials. And that was certainly, while we are not where we'd like to be, we are continually making progress towards a more fiscally solvent future for Kent School District. So kudos to our team, and kudos to our diverse premier workforce and human resources. While we often hear about recruitment and hiring and retention, it is important for us to note that part of our human resources work has to do with developing our people, making sure that our people are better as a result of being here. And our professional development management system is evolving. And while our HR staff have been invited to obviously take part in professional development management programs, our system will now join the 21st century and continue to evolve. Currently, there are 2 available training sessions to learn how to enter our classes into a new system, and that system is referred to as professional growth. And so our individuals now will be able to keep track and be able to monitor closely the areas in which we are growing professionally. And I know that is an area of interest for me, for our board, and for our staff. We look forward to continually monitoring that success of our staff. That in of itself concludes my report. I would like to say thank you to our retirees as they have graduated to their next opportunity in life, and for their service to Kent School District. We thank you for all that you've done for our students as well as the adults who are serving them. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. All right, we are moving into our recognition portion, and I'll ask Dr. Watts to present the plaques and to the principals of schools recognized by Washington State. It is our Washington State school recognition. So should the board come, if the board will come forward as well.
Thank you. To our school communities and our principals, I would like to first of all thank them for their tireless hours of leadership and support and development. This honor is bestowed upon our school leaders for actually, for the first time, showing growth for students and student groups who have historically either underperformed or been underserved. This is a new recognition for our state recognized schools, and close to 200 schools were recognized throughout the state, and 5 of which were identified in Kent School District. At this time, I will call our school name as well as the principal to come accept the award, and beginning with George T. Daniel Elementary School Principal Patty Drobny. Please join us and give her a round of applause as she comes. Yes. And if you'd stay right here for just one moment, Patty, congratulations. And as leader, we know that as principal, she sets the vision, creates the conditions so that the adults and the staff, as well as the students, can respond in a positive way. This award is honored for the work that led to growth in Washington School Improvement Framework metrics while narrowing the gap between the highest and the lowest performing student groups. All student groups are performing at 6.0 or higher, again, which is significant growth, according to the Washington School Improvement Framework, well above the state average. And so we want to thank you for your leadership. Well done, and we'll continue that growth, which is the one thing that we have control over. Job well done. Congratulations. Care to say any words?
This is awesome because no one will see me. Could I turn it that way?
So I did talk to my staff about this in terms of how much work. I've been really fortunate in that there's a lot of new, and actually I realized today not so new energy, because I kept saying it was new energy at Daniel, but now I have people that are all on focus, so it's not as new as it was, but it's because of all the work that they did and the willingness to use data, willingness to look at every one of our kids as if they were truly the gems that they are. And so this did not come easy, and so our staff today was pretty proud of it. So it was awesome to be able to have this. Thank you.
Thank you. Please. We'll ask our principals to stay close afterwards, so we'll have a picture with everyone once we've concluded. Our second school and principal to be recognized, Meridian Elementary School, led by Principal Stephanie Behringer, who is not here to accept the award, so I will accept it on her behalf, knowing the work that she has done in a relatively short period of time. Serving as principal at Meridian, she has gained a broad sense of team and consensus about the work, and I've seen that through my classroom visits. Meridian Elementary School earned this award for closing gaps and demonstrating improvement among student groups identified for specific supports. And so we honor her work as well as the work of our staff and our students and families at Meridian Elementary School. Congratulations. Our third principal I do see from Ridgewood Elementary School, Principal Cynthia Green. Please recognize her. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I will share with you that, yes, Principal Green and school was awarded this plaque for closing gaps and demonstrating improvement amongst student groups once again identified for support. And I will let Cynthia say a few words, I know, of the work that's taking place as a result of your leadership.
So no one can see me either. This is great as well. But could I just take a moment and ask our Ridgewood staff to stand, because this is your award too. We are thrilled, and we have more work to do. Now that we've started, we want to continue to get banners and awards, so we'll keep going for you all. Thank you. Thank you.
And if Principal, I appreciate that. I do know him, so I know you're not, but I'm glad you were here. Thank you so much. And so on behalf of Tim Helgelson for Sawyer Woods Elementary School, would you please help me?
Amy Frank.
Thank you, Amy. I appreciate it. Amy, representing Sawyer Woods Elementary School, congratulations. Well done. Sawyer Woods is being honored this year for high achievement in English language acquisition, math, and school quality student success measures. Again, growth and proficiency are many of the opportunities for leadership that we can control. I want to thank you for your leadership, and I'll give you an opportunity to share a few words if you'd like.
Well, he didn't say that. I will just let you. He said, please pick this up for me. I have a conflict tonight. It's a great honor to be here for Sawyer Woods and to accept this award. It's a pleasant place to spend your day, and the teachers and the staff work tirelessly to earn each one of these things. So thank you.
And our fifth winner in school has been recognized for significant achievements, Kent Mountain View Academy. And I see our principal, led by Principal Stephanie Knipp. Let's give her a round of applause, please. Right here for a second. So Kent Mountain View Academy is recognized as high achievement earned and growth in English language acquisition and school quality student success measures. Also, they are the only school in the state to be recognized for both growth and achievement. Well done. Yes.
We were so excited about the achievement piece, but I would say even more so the growth, because that, as you said, Dr. Watts, is really about what we have some control over, and when we're intentional about making a difference for one student at a time, it makes all the difference. So thank you so much.
So as Principal Knipp shakes the hands of our school board, I'll ask our principals, and we'll have an opportunity for staff, I'm sure, at some point, that our principals will come and take a picture with our school board at this time.
We have staff from the schools here, and we have words here. We should do it. You came, come on.
Congratulations to all of our 5 schools. We will now start with our 4.01, our Nutrition Services Update presentation. And Ms. Teresa Fields, Nutrition Services Director, will share a presentation on nutrition services, including an overview of the program, budget implications, and applicable state legislation.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Sorry. Good evening, President Begadasalam, board members of the board, Dr. Watts and Ms. Howley. I'm Teresa Fields. And it's my pleasure to present for Nutrition Services. And the clicker's not working, sorry. Maybe if we turn it on. Thank you. Thank you. So this evening, I will be discussing our department functions, an overview of our department, budget, staffing, policies, procedures, internal, external controls, information technology systems that we use, and looking forward and next steps of our department. So Nutrition Services provides nutritious meals to our students. We operate in the National School Lunch Program, which consists of breakfast, lunch, after-school snack, and our after-school supper programs. We also we also process our annual applications for free and reduced price meals. We provide meals, lunch, and snack for our Head Start and private daycares on a contractual basis. And we also provide breakfast, lunch, and snack for our summer feeding program. We partner with internal and external organizations to support our nutrition efforts. We also provide guidance to our schools for the competitive food policies and procedures, and we provide catering and beverage services to our district. Our annual budget for nutrition services is $10,300,000. We have a staff of 136 employees. 51% of our budget is attributed to salary and benefits. 42 of our staff are in the central kitchen, and 94 are school-based on the front line. 7% of our budget is in equipment, supplies, and other contracts, and then 42% of our budget is attributed to food. To date this school year, we've served over 639 breakfasts, over 2 million lunches, over 16,000 snack, and 16,000 after-school dinners. And we, for our qualifying for free and reduced, as you can see, we're taking a slight downward trend. And currently, we are at 47.63% for the district. Our revenue is based on we get revenue from 3 different areas. Our federal reimbursement is 74%, state reimbursement is 2%, and our local revenue, which comes from paid meals, a la carte sales, and our catering services, which consists of 24% of our revenue resources. Our key stakeholders are students and families, the schools themselves, the administration staff, the school board, food and vending suppliers, our government agencies, which are OSPI, King County Public Health, and the cities of Kent, Covington, and Auburn. We have internal controls, which are led by district policies, our administrative handbook, and our collective bargaining agreements. And externally, our external controls are the USDA, our state laws, regulations, policies, and procedures. We also have a CRE SMI review that's conducted with OSPI every 3 years. We have a state auditor, and then King County Public Health Department. We are also led by federal and state legislation. So the Healthy Hunger Free Act, there are 3 aspects of that act that we are in guidance with. The first one is our reimbursement rate for the new meal patterns, which allows us an extra 6 cents per lunch for reimbursement as long as we are complying with the new meal pattern. Equity in school lunch pricing, which makes sure that we are equal between the difference of free reimbursement and paid meals reimbursement. And then our national standards for all schools, for food sold in schools, making sure that we are following the nutritional guidelines for food sold in schools during the school day. We also follow the Child Nutrition and WIC Reauthorization Act, which requires all districts to have a wellness policy. We're guided by Bill 5093, which establishes minimum standards for competitive food in schools. One of the state legislation acts that's not on here, that I meant to put on here, that came into effect March of 2018, is our non-shaming bill, which is House Bill 2615, which says that we are basically not to shame students, and we will feed them regardless of whether they pay or not. So it increases our unpaid meal debt. So for example, at the end of last year, we were at $33,000 unpaid meal debt, and we are currently over $157,000. And then the Ready to Learn Act, House Bill 1508, which will come into effect in the fall, which is any school that has a free and reduced rate of 70% or more, we have to implement a breakfast after the bell program. And so we will be implementing that for 4 schools. We currently have 1 school doing a breakfast in the classroom at Park Orchard. Our key technology systems that nutrition services use are the Skyward system, which is our core financial and HR system. System design, which is our POS system, which tracks meal accountability and participation, and revenue and our claims and all that. We use Lunch Money Now and Meal App Now for online systems for family to pay and apply for free lunch, free or reduced lunch. We use SharePoint, which tracks our weekly orders, inventory, and communicates with the central kitchen. And Healthy Meal Planner Pro, which we use to ensure that we're meeting the USDA guidelines for our meals. So moving forward, we would like to be the meal provider of choice for our families. We're going to focus on increasing breakfast participation in the coming fall. So we can look at things as breakfast in the classroom, a grab-and-go breakfast, second chance breakfast. Currently, Kent School District is at 27% participation overall for the district in breakfast. So we want to try to access as many kids as possible. We'd like to improve efficiencies and try to update our POS system, which we've been using for over 20 years. And then for the future, emerging ideas are expand our local procurement, provide culturally responsive meals to our students and families, expand our Smart Scratch recipes and school-based cooking in secondary schools, and research the use of a roving district food truck to hopefully access kids in the high schools. So I thank you for your time, and do you have any questions?
Thank you. All right, let's start with Denise. Oh, sorry,
Austin.
Austin.
Yeah.
I don't really have any questions other than the fact that I guess I'm happy that students, I guess as you said, like won't necessarily be like judged or discriminated against when it comes to paying meals. I know it's a big, I don't want to say problem, but like, you know, for students who are low income, that's...
Yes. They might not be at the threshold, but yes, correct.
Yeah, so thank you so much. I do have a couple of questions with regards to your balance.
Yes.
I'm wondering, do you kind of have an idea of what might be contributing? I mean, is it families who may not understand about qualifying? Have you guys kind of looked at, is it families who may have qualified one year and did not reapply the next year? Do you kind of find out where that?
Yeah, sometimes the threshold changes year to year, and we're finding that some of these families are right at the threshold of whether they can afford to buy meals or not. So it's a lot of that.
And are you, so is there something, is that just something that the district pays, that Nutrition Services pays? It comes out of your budget?
It does not come out of our budget. Families are expected to pay. We try to reach out to families. We try to help them. We do get donated funds from the community and from staff members to try to bring down that debt. And so at this time, Nutrition Services, it is not coming out of our revenue at this time, no. Okay. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, just looks like Dr. has something to add.
So just simply, it ends up being an expense of the district. So it's not necessarily nutrition services specific. It rolls into the expense of district and becomes a burden on general fund.
And so then so I'm thinking as this follows a student, right? So this is not necessarily like a fine or something that prevents them from, getting transcripts or something like that. This kind of is something that the district actually just covers. It's not something that follows them, right?
It does follow them, and I do know some schools add it to their fine list.
Okay.
It adds it to their fine list. It's not anything that Nutrition Services is requiring or asking them to do.
Okay, thank you. Did you have more to add?
Thank you.
So with that, we've talked about new ways to reach out to families. We talked to communications recently about using text messaging. So as we brought text messaging to our families, could we leverage our lunch money systems to send a reminder text message? So what the no shaming bill says is that we cannot make direct contact with students under the age of 13. It doesn't say that we can't make direct contact with families. So thinking about new ways to engage families in reminders. So what could the trigger be maybe before the balance is low? And always working through. So there's always the campaigns of making people aware of how to apply for school lunch and free or reduced meals. We took a page from Tacoma. They ran a campaign that just said, would you like to know more about how to feed your children for free? Yeah. And so who doesn't want that, rather than it's time to fill out your lunch application? It kind of changes that languaging. So thinking about ways to reach out multiple times. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hartman.
That was one of my questions too. Can you talk a little bit about the after-school supper? When and where is that served?
So it's served in lieu of an after-school snack program. They can have either an after-school snack, which is a simple dry snack and a milk or a juice, or we do a supper program, which is a little more heartier. And so we provide meals to 14 schools that do after-school supper, including the City of Auburn's YMCA program, which is why it's $16,000. So it's another way to give students access to meals after school to help them,
So it's right after school
sustain,
in lieu of a
yes.
snack.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Didn't know about that. Talking about increasing the breakfast participation, I know that's part of what you were talking about. We've heard that the secondary students are a little more hesitant to show that they're receiving free or reduced food.
Yes.
And so that's something that we really want to focus on. I love the idea of the grab-and-go breakfast. I've been a proponent of that, if that's what I think it is.
Yes. Yeah.
Proponent of that for years.
Yeah, and we can also look at maybe a second chance breakfast for secondary schools as well. It works in other districts where sometimes the kids aren't ready to eat breakfast early, but maybe out between first and second period, they can come and grab a breakfast. So that's another way to help increase and hopefully get those kids access to breakfast so they're ready to learn.
That's good. That's good. And can you talk a little bit about the roving truck?
Sure. So I got this idea a couple years ago at the Greater City Schools Conference, and a lot of districts back east are doing food trucks, and I thought, wow, what a great idea. So my thought is to do a little research to see if it might work in our district, and I would just be looking at the high schools. So basically, it's a food truck that we provide a different type of meal in, and we would rotate it throughout the high schools. They would know when it's coming. We can do things like do a prepay or a pre-order so we know how many meals are going to be served on that truck that day. So it's just an idea that I thought might work. Again, access to students. It's a different way of serving along with the traditional way that we serve now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
When you talk about the breakfast after the bell, I think we clarify that we have one school now, and we're looking at 4 schools in total.
Correct.
Okay, great, thank you. And thinking about more about these merging ideas, you can talk more about expanding local procurement and the idea of what are you looking to do, and could that go with partnering with local either outlets of larger companies or just local, producers to have either donated products or something like that?
Sure. So currently we have a partnership with a local farmer who is in Yakima Valley, and he provides us with fresh apples and peaches and cherries, all that kind of good stuff that's in season. I've been partnering with Living Well Kent and Seattle King County Public Health and trying to do a little bit more local procurement in the Kent area community. And so we're going down that path now.
And then you can talk more about what are the emerging ideas around providing culturally responsive meals? What does it look like for our district?
Right. So this is a very diverse community here in Kent. And so again, working with Living Well Kent and other cultures to see what might attract them to come and eat school foods, and just kind of doing a little bit more research to see what we can do to have these students participate in our program.
Okay, so looking to increase participation from students that aren't doing it.
Correct.
Right now. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, I was wondering about United Way and how much participation they are giving or...
Yes, we will be partnering with United Way as well. We've been working with them with the Park Orchard Breakfast in the Classroom, and we will be partnering with them when we add on the 4 schools in the fall for implementation for the breakfast after the bell as well.
Okay, great. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, appreciate it. Thank you. All right.
Thank you. Okay. Have a good evening.
Thank you, you too. All right, we are up to 4.02. Our March 2019 financial statement. Mr. Ben Rarick, Executive Director of Budget and Finance, will give a presentation on the March 2019 financial statement.
Okay, so it's my pleasure to present the financial statements through March. In many respects, this presentation is going to look very similar to the data you have been seeing in February. So I probably won't prolong the presentation unless there are follow-up questions about this, because you're going to see a similar pattern and trend here. But I have two things that I do want to highlight. First of all, so March is typically the low water mark, as it were, for school districts and fund balance, simply because it precedes the April collection, right? So there's probably no chart that would more starkly contrast the situation that the district has been in the previous 3 fiscal years in comparison to that which we find ourselves in now. So you'll see on that first slide, I think it's slide 2, that kind of commensurate with ending fund balances in March of 16, March of 17, and March of 18, the district was cash negative general fund in March, and at least for the last 2 of those Marches was relying upon an interfund loan to be solvent for payroll and so forth in the general fund. But that's clearly not the case here in March of 2019, where we're receiving essentially the double benefit of A, the influx of state funding, and B, the delayed effect of the reduced funding from the property tax. So this probably represents our high water mark in the sense that we're in this year where we've got the benefit of one and only half of the decline of the other. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, the last 2 slides look very similar to what you've seen in previous months. No real change, frankly, at all, and that is that in both cases, both for certificated staff and classified staff, this is the lowest actual staffing levels, not budgeted, but lowest actual staffing levels that we've seen in each of the 3 previous Marches. So certificated staff at the close of March was 1797.4, and then you'll see for classified a similar trend, where classified is at 1017.02. The shape of those curves that you just saw is almost identical to the 3 previous months you've seen, so similar pattern. Okay, so in presenting the financial statements as distinct from the larger budget status updates that I give you, one of the things I try to do is pick something out of the statement itself. You hear a lot about revenues, expenditures, and fund balance schedule. You don't get as much from the actual balance sheet, the assets and liabilities, and what that means for us. So here's an example where you'll see the interfund loan. I think the last time that we talked, I showed you this page with the interfund loan receivables still showing. So now you'll see here in the March statement that line has been zeroed out. So we have paid off that interfund loan with interest, given what you saw on the second slide, which is that we're certainly cash positive at the moment. And the question will be whether we can sustain that next year. Are there any questions about the March financial statement?
No, none of it.
Okay.
No,
Thank you.
We are moving to 5.01, our decision regarding sale of real property, Macmillan Assemblages. And I will ask a board member to make a motion to approve 5.01.
I move that we approve the decision regarding the sale of real property with Macmillan Assemblage.
Okay, is there a second, please?
Second.
All right, motion has been made and seconded to approve 5.01. Are there any discussions or questions?
Clarification, we're in like step 3 of maybe a 7-step process. Declared it surplus, declared it for sale. This is what we're doing to actually publish the notice of intent to sale, or the action we have to take in order to do that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so after this, district's going to publish a notice of intent to sell the property. Multiple steps after that. Which is the next step that'll come back to us, I guess, is my question.
It would be after the hearing, motion to be able to say, okay, we're going to sell.
All right. That was it. Clarification. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you, Dave. All right, calling for a vote. All those in favor, say aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no and raise your right hand. All right, motion passes. 5.02 Capital Facilities Plan, 2018-19 through 2024-2025. I'd like to ask a board member for a motion to approve, please.
Move that we approve the 2019 Capital Facilities Plan as presented.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded to approve Capital Facilities Plan 2018 to 2025. Are there any discussions or questions?
General question, how often do we update? This goes out through 2025, so it's 6 years roughly. How often do we plan on updating this in the next 6 years?
In the next 6 years?
Yes.
So I'll say something. I think Dave probably wants to say something too.
Okay.
Do you want to go first?
No, go
Okay. No, really.
No.
So we're required, I think it's actually a statute that requires the annual update of this plan. So we have no choice but to do an update every year. And one of the reasons, not the only reason, but one of the reasons is for the annual establishment of the impact fee schedule. How extensive that annual update is really up to the board. There are certain, up to the district, there are certain things you have to update. And then, I mean, it is a matter of best practice, I think. Every few years, every district takes kind of a deeper dive to kind of do a reset of the capital facilities plan. Dave?
I'll just bounce onto that. Absolutely. It's every year. Even though you do it for a 6-year outlook, things can change within 365 days. So that's why they give us the option to do that.
Well, the impact fees, I think, is what you mentioned, because we're seeing impact fees against 3 different individual entities, 3 cities, and then the county. So that if circumstances change, we have the ability to update those impact fees.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'll speak. So again, we do not have any schools in the city of SeaTac, but come 2021, we will.
Gotcha.
So this is why we need to make sure that we're doing this every year.
Okay.
All right, that was my question about Kent Mountain View Academy. So the impact fees are really used to pay for new facilities. So Mountain View Academy would be considered new facility because we're starting from the bottom.
That's correct.
Right. And so from CTAC, would we collect, what does that look like in terms of the interest and so forth compared to the other cities?
CTAC?
Yeah.
We wouldn't know yet.
We don't have any from CTAC.
Correct.
Yeah. So we have, we haven't collected any from CTAC yet. I can just give you, I did bring some data to give you a flyover of, just so you could size what this is.
Right.
So I think we pulled it for the last 6 years. So for a 6-year cycle, we're talking about $13 million, not average, but overall 6 years, okay? And the city of Kent is by far, as you would expect, the largest payer of that at $8.6 million. And then King County, so any unincorporated area that is part of King County, the county is the fee payer and collector, as it were. But it's basically Kent, Covington, Renton, and then King County. But that will start to change, as Dave mentioned, as you bring in more municipalities that have overlapping jurisdiction.
So the question was really, given the number of developments going up, and what are the schools nearby? What are they seeing? Is it somewhat aligned to, say, Renton or Covington, for example? Trying to understand.
Would we see the impact fees go up? Is that,
Yes.
in essence,
Yes.
for these particular cities?
And yes, that is absolutely correct. It would, as developments come through, the impact fees go back to the developer to, per lot, per parcel, however many units are going to put on there, that's how that impact fee is designated.
And so how would Panther Lake, for example, because you're redeveloping that, would that also be factored in for impact fees?
That is correct. So since we took that, OSPI removed that school from that location and we moved it to the other location in 2009, when we develop Old Panther Lake now into the 20 classroom / new academy site, impact fees will actually start being added for that one as well.
Okay.
And then just one clarification. So someone had suggested or had asked, how can you take a Kent impact fee and put it up at SeaTac where KMVA is going to be for the New Valley School? That's an interesting question. We are serving people from the Kent Valley, so we can use those impact fees to build that school, if so desired.
Understood. And my question was also about SeaTac. I think SeaTac also would provide those fees, no?
They will. As soon as we develop and as soon as we are there, as soon as it is permitted and we start construction, those impact fees should start to accumulate.
Okay. All right. Thank you for providing the cumulative information.
Welcome.
All right. We are up to 5.03, bid acceptance. Oh, sorry. I need to
Vote on this.
vote on this, yes. So calling for a vote. All those in favor of 5.0.
We need a motion.
I made the motion.
We made that already? Okay, sorry. It's been a while.
No, we're good.
All those in favor say aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
All those opposed say no and raise your right hand. All right, motion passes. Up to 5.03, bid acceptance, Neely O'Brien, bus driveway. And I'd like a board member to make a motion, please, to accept 5.03.
Move that we accept all bids for the Neely O'Brien Bus Drive Improvement Project and award the contract to the specified company.
All right, is there,
In the agenda, sorry.
okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussions or questions? No. All right. So thank you for the responses again. Some of us had questions ahead of time. Appreciate it. So hearing no other discussions or questions, calling for a vote. All those in favor say aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
All those opposed say no and raise your right hand. Motion passes. Up to 5.04, Northwood Middle Field renovation Phase 2 bid acceptance and award of contract. I'd like to ask a board member to make a motion to approve 5.04.
Move to approve the Northwood Middle School field renovation Phase 2 bid acceptance and award of contract.
All right, is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Any discussions or questions? Hearing none, thank you. Calling for a vote, all those in favor say aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
All those opposed say no and raise your right hand. And motion passes. 5.05, resolution number 1560, New Valley Elementary School, new in lieu replacement option. I'd like to ask a board member to make a motion to approve 5.05.
Move to approve resolution number 1560, the New Valley Elementary School new in lieu replacement option.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, a motion has been made and seconded to approve 5.05, resolution number 1560. Are there any discussions or questions?
To be clear, it seems like a procedural thing, but I think our end goal of this is to apply for state matching funds. I think that's kind of that end part, so that, you know, we have obviously our bond, which could pay for some of this, but then apply for some state matching funds from their capital budget, I guess.
That's correct, Director Hardy. What we try to do is maximize the amount that the state will actually use. So someone had asked, why can't we use the entire amount? Well, since we're only going to elementary, we could only do from K to 6. So that's why the 30 or the 24,000 square feet versus the 38,000 square foot that the building is now.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Any other questions, discussions? All right, calling for a vote. All those in favor say aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
All those opposed say no and raise your right hand. Motion passes. 5.06, resolution number 1561, MRSC rosters. I'd like to ask a board member to make a motion, please, to approve.
I move that we approve agenda item number 5.06, Resolution number 1561, MRSC rosters.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion has been approved and seconded to, motion has been made and approved and seconded to approve 5.06, resolution number 1561. Are there any discussions or questions?
I have a question, because they talk about who uses it now. Have we used MRSC rosters before in this capacity? If not, what did we use previously? If so, that'll end my questioning, but I have other questions if not.
I'll just do a quick segue into it. We're funding this out of capital. And the reason why is this allows us for another procurement tool. If you remember on our April 17th work session, we talked about getting into this small works roster.
Yes.
It allows us to go up to $300,000 without formal bids, going out legal fees, having multiple bidders. So that's why we decided to help out. We can use that tool as well.
Yeah, so this is a tool that the whole district can use, but it's the primary purpose is for the creation of a small works roster, which technically we don't have right now officially. So this is actually perfect for us to be able to latch onto this and use it like many other districts have done over the past several years. It creates a database that we don't have to maintain, and that where they do the advertising required by law. The MRIC group does that, and the MRIC is a Municipal Research and Services Center of Washington. They're a nonprofit state partner, basically. So, and the fee, $1,145 a year, is very reasonable for this service that we're going to be getting. And we're also adding just a vendor roster that is, with our current staffing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What we found out, I just did a quick assessment of it. It looks like we're going to be able to use this roster for over 130 projects we would have had to bid out officially, legally. We can actually use this roster to find some good people to be able to do that work for us.
Yeah.
I think that kind of fills that gap that we talked about previously. The work session you mentioned about those small works projects, what can we do in that space? So this is where we hadn't done something before, and this is kind of help filling that small works need of extra, time, legal fees, things like that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. Calling for a vote. All those in favor, say aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no and raise your right hand. Motion passes. 5.07, commingled recycle services. And I am asking a board member to make a motion to approve 5.07.
Move that we approve 5.07 and award the contract for commingled recycling to Republic Services for the term indicated.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Go ahead, you're good.
I'll second.
Okay. A motion has been made and seconded to approve Commingle's Recycle Services contract. And let's see, are there any questions or discussions? Let's start with Denise.
Okay.
I do have a question with regards to, it seems like quite a substantial increase.
Yes, and again, Fred Long was here as Director of Facilities, so I'm chiming in for him at this point. When this RFQ went out this year, only one person, it's actually one service that services our entire area, or they would have to do multiple bids to multiple people to have multiple vendors to do our entire area. This is why. Then the recycling went up, but the trash went down, or that's reversed, one or the other.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Because I know, this issue of recycling in general came up at the City of Kent Council meeting. And so I want to ask, I'll call it a terrible question because I don't actually want us to do this, but have we looked at the cost of just trashing everything compared to recycling? What is that cost differential? Let me just say that, and we'll look from there. I don't want to do it. I don't want you to take papers home and recycle them in your own bin.
Well, Director
but,
Hardy,
are we looking at the overall cost measure of if the recycling is going up because nobody's buying it, it's going to go into a landfill anyway. We looked at that cost because I'm assuming Republic Service is providing our trash as well, our solid waste. So what is that overall cost per pound? How does that look, comparatively speaking?
I don't have that, but we can definitely look into that. I think that's something that we can do. I hope there's nobody from Greenpeace here. So that's the one thing, and I don't want them to think that Dave Buzzard, I recycle and Ording recycles. I can tell you that China has stopped taking recycling. And as a matter of fact, if you look, there's this huge there's a huge uproar right now in our country that we've recycled so long, we have too many recyclable items, we didn't figure out what to do with them all. Google it. It's interesting reading. It's amazing. So we can find out what that is. I don't know if the district would want to do that. But again, it's not that I don't believe that other districts or other people aren't thinking that way. So it's a good question.
Well, I think it's a terrible question, but I think
no, it's a good question when it comes to financials.
From the standpoint of, do we have programs in place to eliminate items rather than just recycle them? So the concept of moving things out of trash into recycling is one thing, but then moving it out from recycling into nowhere at all, meaning don't print things, limit X, Y, Z. Do we have efforts in place, or at least plans in place to kind of get that going to, if recycling now costs us as much as trash, basically eliminate the things that you would recycle anyway just by not producing them?
And it's a great question because I'll point in case KMVA, anything that is not, that does not get moved from KMVA to KPA, we are actually moving out before it's demolished because none of the contractors wanted to take on that, well, we don't know how much trash is still going to be in here or extra desks or chairs. So Sandy DeMar has actually done a really good, she has a person that takes what's called dirty recycling. So it's metal that has plastic in it and they take the time to change it out. Doesn't cost us anything, doesn't cost us to put it in a dumpster and move it. So there are those programs.
All right. Thank you. That's unrelated to the actual contract itself.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, I want to also thank Fred Long for his response to that question. And thank you. All right. So calling for a vote. All those in favor of okay, 5.07, commingle recycle services, say aye. Raise your right hand. Aye. All those opposed say no and raise your right hand. All right, motion passes. 5.08, innovation in education grant for Martin Sortune. I'd like to ask a board member to make a motion to approve 5.08.
I move that we approve the innovation and, I apologize, and education grant for Martin Sortune.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Motion has been made and seconded to approve 5.08, innovation in education grant. Are there any discussions or questions? All right, hearing none, calling for a vote. All those in favor say aye and raise your right hand. Aye. All those opposed say no and raise your right hand. All right, motion passes. All right, we are up to our consent agenda. Would anyone like to pull anything from our consent agenda?
Yeah, 6.02 and 6.10.
All right. Okay, I'd like to ask a board member to approve consent agenda minus 6.02, 6.10, and 6.10.
Move that we approve the consent agenda, the last item 6.02 and 6.10.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded to approve consent agenda minus 6.02 and 6.10. Okay, all those in favor say aye and raise your right hand. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no and raise your right hand. Okay, motion passes. We're up to 6.02. Karen, please.
Just a minor detail. It says I was in attendance at that audit conference, and I tried to get here, but by the time I got here, Austin was the only one left, and he was on his way out, so I missed it. So I wasn't there at that, so just take my name off of that.
All right, 6.10.
Okay, under the, I need to get this, make this bigger. On the capital projects voucher, the bottom of page 1, it talks about the KVELC demo. I'm wondering about that. I need a little bit of information about that. Time-wise. Ads for bids on the KVELC demo. It's the bottom of,
Keep going
of
down, it's
page
a
1,
little bit
Dave.
more.
It's
Okay.
There you go.
204974.
That's a misprint. That should have been a KMVA demo.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I went, what?
Many apologies.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. No, we just did $3.5 million a few years ago. I don't think we're going to demo that one.
I was going to say, no. Also, where it talks about the new academy, it was referring to the old Panther Lake site, not the renos on KPA. Is that right? And I forgot, I didn't say where that was occurring, so I apologize.
Was that Old Panther Lake hazardous materials abatement?
New academy for old Panther Lake site.
That'd be 204981. And then 204987, bottom on the looks mid-page, ad for bids, Old Panther Lake demo.
Okay, there was, yeah, it's just, oh, I'm sorry. It said something about new academy, and I thought it was referring, I didn't know if it was referring to the old Panther Lake site or the renos that were happening at KPA now to adjust for the two academies coming in there. But I sort of assuming now that it's the old Panther Lake site.
It would be either that or the KPA small renovation that we're doing to merge those two programs into.
So, yeah, I wasn't sure which one it was. So are both of those on the schedule?
Yes.
Okay, so not a problem.
Okay.
And then the demo of Old Panther Lake, when is that scheduled?
It would be this summer. We're getting bids in next week for that. The abatement is done.
Good.
The hazardous abatement has been completed and it's finalized.
And this is just for me. Are we taking the whole thing down, the whole building, or are we saving parts of it?
It's all got to go.
Okay, good. That's what I thought.
Yes. The only thing we're going to save is the backstop and the fence.
And someone asked at, I don't know, it was PTA or meeting, is there some way that we could save the mural that's on the wall? I know it's very faded, but I was wondering if we could maybe get a nice picture of it and put it into a big framed picture. It was done by the students
So
many years ago.
there's two of them I know. In AC building, there are a bunch of 4-inch tile that are in frames, and then there's also 4 4x8 sheets or 6 4x8 sheets that's on the 208th Street side.
I think that's the one they were talking about, but I don't know.
So maybe what we'll do is we'll work with communications, who has a really nice camera, and we'll see if we'll get our demo folks to take those down strategically, or even have maintenance do it, and then maybe we can stage that somewhere with some good lighting.
Yeah, or bad lighting, because it's really faded, so.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Dave.
You're welcome.
I'm done.
All right. So at this time, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve 6.02 as amended, please.
I move to approve 6.02 and 6.10.
We do both of them at the same time?
Oh, okay. And 6.1, okay.
I'll
Motion to
second.
approve. Okay.
Got it.
All right, motion's been made and seconded to approve 6.02 and 6.10. Any other discussions or questions? right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye and raise your right hand. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no and raise your right hand. Motion passes. All right. We're up to 7.0 Board of Directors Informational, 7.01 Procedure 2410P, High School Graduation Requirements. Any thoughts? This is informational. We're not taking action. Any comments? Thoughts?
I just thought it was really nice. It's sad, but it's really nice. I mean,
It's an unfortunate opportunity, but it's a nice thing to do to offer families. So.
I appreciated it.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Harmon. All right, 8.0, we're up to communications, and we will begin with our student representative report. Representative Freeman.
So I just have like two main things, but they're all connected, of course. So I guess the first thing I'll just kind of point out as we're ending the end of the school year is next year's student advisory, but also the larger advisory structure for next year. Course with next year being expanded to 5 different student advisories among 4 strategic goals plus community engagement. That's going to put 100 students, 20 each with chief officer, and it's really big opportunity. It's going to require a lot of recruitment to get 100 students among these 5 different groups. But when I kind of think about it, it's kind of a little bit of a choose your own path kind of thing, because when I think throughout the year when I've talked to different students, at least those are in SLA, it kind of seems like when we just have meetings with Dr. Watts, it's a lot to cover, you know, when there's all of us from these different high schools, and not only there's a lot to cover, but there's a lot of different ideas we have. And another thing about this is by having, hopefully, 100 students spread out among 5 different student advisories, it'll kind of allow students next year, student leaders, to kind of coordinate with other students. So, you know, 100 students among all of our academies and the high schools, you know, it'll allow students to coordinate more with the ASB at their high school, allow them to coordinate among students who are in a different advisory. Kind of also a lot of like projects or interests that were mentioned throughout this year. Maybe there's students who are really interested on curriculum, or they really want to focus on textbooks, or they really want to focus on different issues. A lot of just ideas that have happened in our meetings, and it's a brand new idea and kind of way to do things, but I'm excited that next year for the 5 different advisories that we'll have next year, hopefully it'll be, the goal is to be less, a little bit like, I guess I'll say like stringent, and have just a wide variety of students from different backgrounds to come on, and then the student representative position here will be, I guess, like the more rigorous part of that piece in serving as in this structure next year. I'm looking forward, with sadness, of course, to reach out sometime soon, next couple weeks as the school year ends, to whatever students might be interested in this position, and work with one of you, of course, on the interview process and that whole application process, and get a next student up here for the fall semester term. And that I wanted to connect in with graduation, of course, which is starting tomorrow, not on Saturday. I wanted to, I think a great way of me advertising this is that my role, of course, is to connect with high school students and share opportunities and what high school students are up to the board. And I'm sure some of you might have noticed, but there's a really good piece about different high school students in the class of 2019 that's on the website. And it features students not just from Kent Lake or Kentwood, but from KPA, KMV, from iGrad, from Kentwood, from all the students, seniors at NTOP, and from all these different backgrounds. Some students I recognized, some I had the opportunity just to read about, and I think that's a really good, positive highlight as we enter this week. It showed up on Monday, and I was like, this is really cool, because it's not just highlighting students who are going to be walking across the stage on Saturday, but it's also sharing their hopes, their stories, and just wanted to thank the communications team for that, because that's a really cool opportunity, and also for live streaming for the graduation ceremonies over this weekend. And I just want to wish Today at Kentridge, we had a senior signing ceremony. So basically, not just athletes, but every single high school student was able to kind of, sign and have tell the entire, at least senior class, what their next plans were. And I think that's a great, even if not every senior was there today, it was a really cool opportunity to see there's students who are going to Alabama, students who are going to enter into an apprenticeship, students who are going to go do this and this and this. So I guess I will just close out my report by saying congratulations to the class of 2019. So that's it.
All right, we will start with communication from the audience next, and starting with Paul San. All right, thank you.
Good evening, Board. Dr. Watts, how are you tonight? Hey, I'm Paul Sain. I'm the music teacher at Jenkins Creek Elementary, and I'm here to talk about the modification to the specialist periods, PE, music, and library at the elementary level, extending that from 40 minutes to 50 minutes. I did say in correspondence, I don't know if you've received that or not. If you haven't, then I would be happy to send you a second copy. And then if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer based on what was written. As I'm looking at this, a 50-minute period is fine for that class level, exception there were some concerns with PE, and if that's age appropriate for kindergartners. That's a pretty young age for that long of a period. My concern, and as we had a meeting on the 8th with Dr. White, is floor space. There's only so many minutes in a school day, and I just calculated Jenkins Creek, and I'm delighted that the 17-to-1 ratio went through. That creates another headache, though, in scheduling and trying to get a 50-minute period in for every class. What usually ends up happening is you either have double class sizes, which is not safe, especially in physical education. And when we do class assignments at the elementary, we have certain students that should not be together. They trigger each other into fights and things. And so we separate them, and now all of a sudden you're going to bring them together in an overcrowded room, and we're going to make it 10 minutes longer. Just, to me, it just doesn't seem like a very good idea. So I don't think that was well thought out. Music, basically, it's a lot easier than PE because we do have like our orchestra rooms that we could use. The other problem is they're not really equipped for general music. And so there's really nothing in there, maybe a piano. Huge problem. We have an ethical duty to use best practices with the state standards regardless if they're just elementary kids or not. We have that obligation. And the state standards are very clear on what's expected for us to do. And I know it seems like, okay, we have a contract, this is what the contract says, and the union is not going to budge on that. You as a board actually have some options, surprisingly enough. With a 40-minute period, okay, let's say, for example, tonight you passed a policy that says, hey, we're going back to what we did last year. We're doing that for next year, regardless of what the contract says. In that case, the association could file a grievance, say, no, you got to put it back the way it was. An arbitrator will look at that and they'll say, okay, union, who has been harmed? Because your PE classes are not 10 minutes longer, who's out? What are they out? An arbitrator is not going to care if it's PE or music or library. That's not an issue to them. They're just looking at the preparation time. And so in our contract, it says that it should average 250 minutes per week. That is what an arbitrator will look at. They're not going to look at, oh, it wasn't 50 minutes on this day, because that, when you do that, and that terminology is to make the employee whole, and that's what that would do. I'm really urging you to do that tonight, or not tonight, but at a future meeting, to make that decision. It would work out very nicely to do that. I think you've got a good, strong position for that. And I think the concern of safety for students in an overcrowded classroom or non-functional classrooms, I think outweighs that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Matt Parrish, followed by Becca Ritchie.
Good evening, Board. First of all, thank you for your time. So I watched last week's work session, and all honesty, I felt a bit of encouragement after watching that. For the first time in 2 years, I've actually felt some encouragement from this board and superintendent staff, especially revolving around the discussions about iGrad and also potentially restoring previously discussed cuts. I sincerely hope the board and the superintendent's administration is as sincere in its actions as the dialogue would lead to believe. There's no harm in admitting when you're wrong. The ability to identify being incorrect with initial assessments and estimations and making genuine efforts to correct and move forward and make amends with the stakeholders all around is a trait in effective leadership that, when modeled properly, will be welcomed by all stakeholders. However, I'm still bothered by recent classifying comments by board members and the superintendent. A school district is not a business, and I emphasize not. There are no profit loss goals, no financial incentives for leadership, no shares of ownership in the school district. We're forced to pay whether we want to or not. We don't get to buy shares. And there are most certainly no customers because KSD does not sell a product. KSD provides a core service, education. KSD is also considered a governmental entity and as such cannot be equated to a business, and all the requirements and restrictions, and by equating the district to a business removes any and all personification and minimizes the value of the core team. They then become known as faceless numbers in some spreadsheet or HR information system. Yes, the district also has requirements and restrictions, but they're not in the same class as a business. If KSD was a business, it would be closing schools due to its financial situation over the past 4 or 5 years, like Green Dot, that announced closures of 2 local charter schools, which it affects people, real people. Or KSD would be filing for insolvency and folding completely due to the ongoing fiscal health. Please discontinue equating KSD as a business. It's insulting to the public and insulting to the very people that work here and do the hard work in the buildings, who I call heroes. Recognize and praise the true value and the contributions the teachers and the building staff as equal partners in the overall success of the district. Thank you.
President Vengadasalam and board members, Dr. Watts. So I'm finishing up my first year in the Kent School District, and I've had an incredibly good year. But I'm going to take you back to 1981. I was a 7th grade student. I know, I'm old. And I signed up for choir. Barbra Streisand was on the charts. Fame just came out. I got hooked. And the teacher that I had, Miss Barnett, was my inspiration to become a teacher. In that class, there was a girl named Sarah. And Sarah used to come to class every day chewing gum, putting her feet up. She never really paid attention a whole bunch. And I never understood why Miss Barnett kept her in the studio choir at the time, because you were supposed to have an A in the class and she had a C, but Sarah was always in that group. And it was because Sarah was suicidal. And choir was the only thing keeping her in school. I didn't know that until I actually became a teacher and I taught in the same school district, and Miss Barnett was my colleague. And she shared that that was what had happened. So every person in this room found their leadership skills through different venues. Could have been band, choir, orchestra, wood shop. Could have been leadership class. Could have been ASB. Could have been math class. I would not be the person I am today if Miss Barnett had not seen that spark in me and inspired me to continue on in choir. Where I went to Central Washington University, I was part of the first jazz choir. I was part of the chamber choir from my freshman year on, and I graduated with a music education degree. But then I went into computers and CTE, and I used those skills every day that I learned being in choir to not be nervous when I get up in front and speak to the board. When I go to our union's convention, I speak in front of 10,000 people, and I would not be that person if I had not had that experience in 1981. I wrote my speech here really quick. So I think it's really important that as you consider the offerings that are being cut, that you look at the consequences. So I tell my students, life is a series of choices, and those choices have consequences. And your choices are going to have consequences on students like me and students like Sarah. We also talk about oftentimes that when we say things and do things, it's intent versus impact. I know people on this board personally, and I know that your intent is well-meaning, but I really do want you to think about the impact your decisions will have. Please support the arts.
Thank you very much. All right. That concludes our communication from the audience. And Director Hardy, legislative update, please.
Sure. Well, legislature didn't get back into session in the last 3 weeks. But normally around this time, typically what you do is, because the legislature will make all their changes, and they impact budget, they impact other things, and then OSPI will interpret them and put things out. And so looking at any, OSPI puts out bulletins in terms of advising what's going on. And there's really one kind of bulletin that came out just to make it aware. There were significant changes in various RCWs that impacted teacher and principal evaluation processes. And while that might impact us as a board, it will impact every district. And so making sure that if you know and kind of understand what those are, OSPI is going to put out further guidance on that. To the other point, they put out a multi-year budget comparison tool, which I know that our finance team was drawn from. If you want to take the time to look at it, it's a big Excel model and it's kind of nerdy, but it can kind of show you two different places. We've looked at what we are last year and what we're looking at this year. But it also kind of shows you the evolution of kind of last year's apportionment from the state, the original governor's budget, various versions of budget bills, and where it actually landed. And so you kind of see what's changed and what hasn't changed as you look through either special education ratio, what does that mean as it changed through, versus a staffing allocation ratio, which did not change in terms of what was there. And so you can see impact to our district, you can see impact to any district, both from now they have the local levy impact in there. So you can kind of see what that is and kind of give that perspective, if you will, of where we were last year, what we started with at the start of legislative session, what we ended with, which is a little bit more, but comparatively speaking, not as much as we were promised. That's my personal opinion as opposed to legislative update. And so take a look at that if you want. I know that we're still doing our budgets as well as the other districts, and this tool is a helpful in terms of understanding where we're at compared to where we were last year. And so that is my conclusion of my update.
All right, thank you. All right, we will start with board reports and discussion. Director Daniels.
Okay. So I have been extremely busy. I have a college graduate, so I spent the weekend at Central Washington. I have a freshman and a college graduate there, so moving one back and going back to the graduation for the other one. And one of the amazing things when I went there, though, was I saw so many Kent students. It was very interesting. Your kids make friends, and then even my oldest daughter was there, and she had friends that she had known in Kent, so it was actually a really wonderful opportunity to see so many of our students doing really good things, really great things, so thank you for that. Again, I want to thank you all for coming, and thank you for what you're doing for our students. We're almost there. I know some teachers are really ready to be there, staff members, period. And so I kind of want to echo what Austin said. I was thrilled to see that students whose path may not be the one that is most recognized be recognized and called out. That's really fantastic. I work with several students at our alternative high school in Auburn, and I support some students at one of the Kent schools as well. And everybody's path is not the same, and everybody's not necessarily excited about. Some kids aren't quite making it yet. They're going to have to go a little bit longer, but you know what? It's okay. It's okay. Those kids are, they've been through some things, and I always encourage them. Sometimes those paths can make us stronger and better, and so I was really excited to see that. So I'm looking forward to the graduations I'll be attending this week. I know it'll be busy, but it's a wonderful time of celebration, and so I'm really looking forward to that. So thank you so much for coming, and have a wonderful rest of your night.
Thanks. I also want to thank the teachers. I know this is a hard time of year to hang on. They're counting down the days as much as the kids are, maybe more. But just appreciate all the work that they've put in, and all the other staff too, the supporting staff. It really makes a big part of the team. So thank you. I know we still have a little ways to go yet, but thank you for a good year. Looking forward to graduations. As Austin said, starting tomorrow night, going to every one of them except iGrad and Green River. That's KMVA's the same night, and I'm going to that one. So, but I'm doing all the others, and I love them. I love watching the girls' shoes come by. They've got the gowns on, so you can't see what they're wearing, but you can tell by their shoes. And some of those shoes are probably not the best thing to be climbing up on a stage, and some of those girls find out. But anyway, it's a lot of fun, and it's interesting to watch them come through, and to think each one of them has a really individual story and a path. So I want to thank the mariachi band for being here for the retirement tonight. I told them, and I told Mr. Robles that. When I was first on the board, when I went to the national conference, I went to it's actually a booth that was promoting mariachi bands and music, and they had mariachi workshops for teachers, music teachers in the summer, and I was so excited about that. And I came back and I talked to Dr. Vargas, and he was excited about it too, but he said, we've got to have the uniforms and all, and then things just kind of fizzled. But so I'm so excited to see that we've got a mariachi band here. And I know that I think Kent Elementary has the start of a little mariachi band, some little kids that are working on it. So maybe we've got something that's going to sustain through the years. Lastly, I would like to say this is winding down of mentoring also. Communities and Schools is one of the major nonprofit organizations that works on mentoring and getting mentors for our students, and there are so many students out there that need mentors, and again, it's just so rewarding to work with them, and they don't always do what you hope they do, but you're there to support them and to help them any way you can, and I'm looking at picking up a couple new mentees over at KPA this fall, so looking forward to that. So I'm finished. Thanks.
All right. Well, I think we're all, busy. We all got invited to 800 year-end activities, egg drop challenges. That's something I got to go to at elementary school. Some of them survived, some of them didn't. But hey, it's still fun. And I know we got our full suite of lineup of graduations coming out. And I want to thank, when I think about, in 2 weeks from now is our next meeting after this. Within that 2 weeks, graduations will all be done, school will be out, and then from the board standpoint, we will have mostly completed 2 of our main jobs, which is, basically finalizing our budget priorities and our value statements that we talked about at the work session last week, as well as completing the superintendent evaluation. So that is what we'll have to look forward to in the next 2 weeks, in addition to all the places that we need to be. So I look forward to that as we wrap up kind of our school year.
All right, thank you. And I want to thank our Springbrook Elementary staff and Kentridge robotics staff for a great visit to both of their schools. Appreciated learning more about both schools. I also wanted to thank everybody for responding to our questions from the board for tonight's meeting, as well as many other questions that come about. And I know it takes a lot of time, and we really appreciate all of you taking the time to write it out for us. Thank you. And finally, I want to say our exit conference with our auditors, there were no findings, and I know very often when there's some glory to share, there are always people coming to exercise that right to take credit for the glory. But I just want to really give credit to our finance department with Ben and staff. Because really without them, we couldn't have gotten through all of this. So I just want to make sure that there are community folks who will come and say that they take credit for all the work that was done. There was a lot of work done on their part. And I have seen staff in tears because of the inquiries and the I would call it harassment, that they've taken. And so I really appreciate all the effort that they've done over the course of this past year, maybe 2 years. So thank you, Ben, and Dr. Harmon is not here, but Dr. Harmon and the finance team. And then finally, I want to say congratulations to our own representative, Freeman, and for graduation, and we look forward to seeing you on Friday night. And we look forward to seeing all of our students, and thank you all for everything you do for our students. Okay, have a good night, and thank you for coming.
Very good. Oh, it's early. Oh, goodness, I don't even know what to do. It's still daylight outside.
Oh, man, I can see the sun.
I know. And it's still going to be warm out. Yes. So Austin, you doing Kent Ridge also, graduation?
I had a running start graduation last night, and then tomorrow night is like a senior sunset where Kent Ridge seniors
Nice.
Really? Oh, fun.
and then I think we're graduating Friday and then Sunday.
Kent Ridge, so
Yeah,
I'll be fighting to shake your hand.
Yes.
Yes, it'll be fun.
All right, where am I signing this?